And now we move on to Chapter 2, and this is when we get into actually working quite a bit within QuickBooks. We are going to use the computer consulting file. I already have mine open. If you don't have yours open from Chapter 1, go ahead and get it open. And I'm going to show you how to do a few things. I'm not actually going to walk through anything that is step by step in the book. I'm just going to go ahead and show you some sample transactions, and then you can begin working through the textbook on your own. As you can see on the instructions on page 66, it talks about dates. You can use either 2013 or 2014. I actually recommend using 2014, but whichever way you do, you just have to be consistent. And as for printing, go back and look at the video for the intro video, and it will talk about printing, because we are not going to print anything at all in this class except to print them to PDF files. So if you'll begin on page 66 and follow the instructions on how to get your company open. I then want to show you how to go in and change the capital account. I think you did this in Chapter 1, but I want to make sure everybody knows how to do it. So Chart of Accounts, I'm going to go down, I'm going to locate my equity. I'm going to right click, I'm going to go to Edit Account, and I'm going to make this Candace Bosiger Capital. For those of you that remember from 129, this is our capital account. So each individual sole proprietor has a capital account. Okay. So now that is changed. My name is changed up here. So now I want to go over a few things that will be covered in Chapter 2. Again, I'm not going to do any of the transactions that are located actually in your textbook, but I'm going to walk you through some, and then the textbook will walk you through the transactions that they want to do step by step. In the next couple of chapters, we're going to talk about a service business, meaning that they're selling their service to their customers. There's no merchandise, there's no shoes, there's no socks, there's nothing is sold, no actual merchandise is sold to them, only services. Now later on, we'll talk about merchandising businesses, and they get a little bit more complicated. So here in QuickBooks, we separate out our cash and our credit sales. So cash sales, those are the ones that are paid for immediately customers that come in and pay cash customers that come in and pay cash are billed out differently than customers that are going to pay their bill later. Ones that are going to pay their bills later, we need to keep track of their accounts receivable, and those that pay the day that those services performed, we don't need to run them through our accounts receivable. So QuickBooks separates those out by an invoice and a sales receipt, and the only difference is on an invoice the customer is going to pay us later, and on a sales receipt we sold them something, we sold some sort of service to them, and they paid for it immediately. So let's go into here to create an invoice. We select the job, so I'm just going to go in here and do Ella, and we're going to say we are going to sell her initial hour of on-site training for 1. These were already set up that it was an item code and the price for each. As you move on further in, you will learn how to set these up, but on these initial chapters they're set up for you. The terms, it's due in 30 days. You can have a representative. You can put how you shipped them. There's a lot of information on here. And it'll also teach you how to edit these templates in the next couple of chapters, so be on the lookout for that also. And then if I were needing to print this, I would go to print, and I would hit my invoice. And when it beeps, that tells you that it has been recorded in QuickBooks. And then I would select Qt PDF driver, and I would go ahead and save it out on my Dropbox, or out in my jump drive, not Dropbox, excuse me. Okay, and then that beeping told you that it's saved. So now I can get out of here. But let's say somebody else came in, and we're going to go to Andrew, and we are going to sell him the same thing for $95, except that he is going to pay us today, and he is actually going to pay us cash. So I select cash over here, and I hit save and close. But now I want to show you something. Right here, sales receipts could now be deposited into our bank. And I apologize for the noises and stuff on my computer. The sales receipt, we have them in hand, and we could go and we could record the deposit into the bank account right now. But on an invoice, we billed it to them. They haven't paid us, and only after we receive payment can we record it as a deposit. So when you click on record deposit, this box pops up, and it says that Andrew Productions paid us $95, and we got that from our sales receipt. We billed them the same day and they paid us the same day, so therefore it's a sales receipt. So I would select that I want this, and I would hit OK. And right here is extremely important. Right here. This box right here. You need to change the date to whatever date it is in your book. This will get you if you do not change these dates. I'm going to go ahead and leave it as this date. And I'm going to hit save and close. This is a list of everything that is going to be deposited. If I needed to print it, I would go to here to print and my deposit summary. And again, did you hear that beep? That beep's a good thing. That means that it printed, or it saved it in QuickBooks. And here I would print it and then save it out to my jump drive. Okay, and I'm going to hit save and close. But you'll notice we created this invoice over here, and we didn't have anything to deposit because we haven't received a payment yet. So now I'm going to go in and I'm going to go receive payment. And we're going to receive that payment from Ella. And look, it shows us this invoice. It says she owes us this amount. And if you select this box, it'll automatically fill in the payment amount. So you have to be careful. If they make a partial payment, you need to put the payment amount in here. And we're going to say she gave us cash. Okay. And then I would hit save and close, or you could print it. You might need to print it, save and close. And now if I go over here to record deposit, there's a deposit. Now if you had multiple items, you can select each and every one of them. And I'm going to hit save and close. Now let's say that we have a customer and we're going to give them a refund. They weren't happy with our service, or they returned something, and we go to refunds and credits. So I'm going to use that same customer, Ella, and we're going to say it was for this initial training, and we're going to refund her this $95 because she wasn't happy with our service. So although this looks very similar to an invoice, it is a credit memo. Credit memo, meaning their accounts receivable balance, we're going to credit it and it is going to go down. So I would do save and close. Now you're going to get this box that's going to pop up, and it says, would you like to retain as an available credit? Would you like to give a refund, or would you like to apply for an invoice? So let's say we were actually going to issue her a check, we would give a refund. Retain as an available credit, that means we would leave it as an overpayment on our end, and the next time she uses our services, she wouldn't have to pay for that amount. Or apply to an invoice. if she had additional invoices that were open, we would apply it to that invoice so that we would that invoice would be for a less amount. So I'm going to say give a refund. And then a box will pop up for you to write a refund check. And again, I'm going a little bit quickly, and the book will walk you through this step by step by step. And again, every time that beeps, that tells you that QuickBooks has recorded any transactions. I like it because then I make sure that I've hit enter, made sure it was recorded. And one other thing that I wanted to talk about while we were on invoices, and I'm going to go back to the invoices, they're the same drop-down boxes in both the invoice and the sales receipt screen. Here, these were already set up by QuickBooks, by somebody else, by the publisher, and we're going to use them, and later on you'll learn how to set them up. But here's all the different types of services we offer. The different types of services we offer. But then on our profit and loss, on our income statement, we want to separate them out into separate categories so that we know this is for training and these are for tech support. So although they're separated here, they end up in two categories on our financial statements. And I'll show you, if you go to lists and items list, here, right over here in this column, all the way over here, they're going to be reported in technical support income and training income. So pay attention to that when you're running your financial statements, that these are being reported in technical support income and training income, and that these are separated out into categories. Although there's 5 different items, 2 different categories on the income statements. Okay, so now I'm going to run home, and I want to show you some of the things in the Customer Center. For instance, I want to add a new customer. I got a brand new customer. I'm excited. And the customer name, and I'm going to use Joe Smith. If Joe Smith had an opening balance, we would put it there, and let's say Joe Smith is from Smith Inc. and his full name is Joe Smith, and I'd fill out all the rest of this information. And then I would keep going down these tabs and fill in the rest of this account information. And the book will walk you through that, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time there. But then, let's say there's an existing customer and I need to make changes. I would highlight it, right-click, and edit customer. Edit customer again. Highlight it, right-click, edit customer. And I can go in here and I can change his address. I would click here to edit, so I can make any changes. That's the one nice thing about QuickBooks, is it's fairly easy to make changes once things have been set. Okay, so moving on. I want to show you how to edit the invoices and the sales receipts. Again, QuickBooks is pretty user-friendly. I'm going to run home so you can pull up an invoice. And let's say this invoice is wrong, that it should have been a quantity of 10 instead of 1. I just made the changes and I hit Save and Close. And it'll say payments are applied to this invoice. Are you sure? Yes, because I made a mistake. And I click yes. And now if I'll go back in, this invoice is now $955. But it also down here says we've already received a $95 payment, which is true. We have. And so the balance on this invoice is $855. So one of the things that I want to be sure is feel free to play around in the QuickBooks. You can always delete it later. Always delete it later. So don't be afraid to play around. Oh, and I forgot to show you, once we hit record deposit, if we'll go over here into the check register, it'll show 2 deposits. So what happens is after we go and we receive the payments or we do a sales receipt, it goes into undeposited funds. Undeposited funds is right here where we record deposits. Right now we don't have anything in undeposited funds. And then once we deposit it, it goes into the check register. So right here, it says undeposited funds, meaning that it went through the undeposited funds screen. And if I need to delete this and redo it because there was a mistake, I go over here. I go to delete deposit, and it's going to say, are you sure you want to delete? And if I'll go back to undeposited funds, it's back in undeposited funds. And occasionally this undeposited funds screen will act a little weird, and just get out of it and get back in. Sometimes this screen doesn't pop up for whatever reason. Okay, and now that we have made some transactions, they are available in our journal. And so here I'm going to go to reports right here. And then I'm going to go to Accountant and Taxes. And I could go right over here and search for Journal. Nope. I'll bet if I type in General, right here, Journal, and I can hit Run, and I click OK. And here is my journal. And it shows that I had an invoice, it shows a sales receipt, it shows a deposit, it shows a credit memo. So here's all the transactions that I have completed for the month of June. So this is our general journal. This is what by hand we were journalizing in 129, and you get to here and it automatically does it for you. Although it very much looks like we're doing single entry accounting, we're still doing double entry accounting. And then we have our trial balance. So we practiced preparing those quite a bit. And I'm going about my reports a slightly different way. I like reports, accountant and taxes, trial balance. You can get to them from the other side also. I can do reports and search, and I can do trial balance. Trial balance right here. And I'd hit run, and this shows my trial balance. It shows the balance of my checking account, my accounts receivable, and look, it's magic, everything balances. And this is a very common check figure that I will give you, is your trial balance. And then there are a ton of reports. So if I go back over here to reports, and I go to standard, and I do sales, there's all sorts of sales reports that I can look at. And the book will walk you through those. Or, for instance, customers and receivable. Here's all the information about my receivables. What do they owe me? How much do they owe me? So, spend some time looking over those reports and familiarizing yourself with them. And that is all that I have for the lecture portion of Chapter 2. As always, if you have any questions, please email me, and I'll be more than happy to help you in any way I can. Thank you so much.